Blog Talk Radio.
Carol the Coach. Sex, love, and relationships. We talk about it here.
Carol the Coach. Compassion with contemporary relevance.
I am a psychotherapist. I can be your personal life coach, and I can help you with your issues. There are no problems too small or too big. You can talk about anything.
Speaker, columnist, radio TV host, and commentator. Carol the Coach brings messages of wellness and empowerment within reach of everyday people every day.
Almost 5 years ago, I lost my soulmate in an accident. He was killed in a plane crash. Life just, for me, has seemed to stop.
There are groups all over the city. I teach one. It is a specific way to start thinking so that you shift how you see the world, which then shifts your energy, and then you feel better and you actually see things differently.
Carol the Coach. Always available, too, at carolthecoach.com.
Now, I've got Russell on the line.
I'm 47 years old. I'm a truck driver. I'm married. I have a wife in San Francisco.
Okay.
I haven't been home in 6 months. My thing is, I don't know if I have a sex addiction or what the problem is. Why do I want what I can't have? And as soon as I can have it, I don't want it anymore.
You're right on target when you say, I don't know if I have a sexual addiction. Well, guess what? Yes, you do. And you know what? That's my specialty, Russell. So you're at the right place. Continue.
I meet women online, and I'm in a different part of the country. I travel all 48 states, so I love sex.
I hear self-esteem issues. You never felt good enough, and you didn't feel like you were getting what you should have then, and you're reenacting that now. Do you want to change that about yourself?
You get what you need.
Oh, yes. Do you want to change? Contemplation, the big question for anybody who is unhappy with their life. Now, if you're an addict, you may know that it is time to make that change. Your life doesn't feel full because you're leading a double life, a dual life. And, that can tend to happen in any situation, under any circumstance. If I'm working with a man and he has started probing the perimeter, so to speak, and looking at ads that are not pornographic, but they're not healthy, he's not telling anybody. He's not telling a sponsor. That's a dual or a double life. If he's in relationship with someone and he's viewing movies that he shouldn't watch, and he knows he shouldn't watch them because he does get stimulated, and he does fantasize about how he can take care of himself. That's not a positive thing if it goes against his own internal values not to masturbate. So, you get the gist. If you're an addict and you're not talking about your behaviors for fear of disapproval, that means you need to go straight to your meeting and your sponsor or your mentor and get honest, get real. That will stop the cycle of acting out that is happening, and that will get worse. Hi, I'm Carol Jurgensen-Sheep, and I am here with you today to talk about a special workshop that for men that is out of Kansas City. And so many men struggle with attachment wounds and trauma and sexual brokenness. And they're doing some good work, but they really want to do the deep dive into understanding themselves better. That would greatly be benefited if you did an intensive. And the My House workshop, which is a 3-day intensive, is exactly that kind of opportunity to do that deep dive. And I really think that's important. Just like if you're a professional and you want to know more about how to work with couples or learn to help them heal model, you can go to my website, www.sexhelpwithcarolthecoach, and that turns into Help Them Heal. You know, that's my new thing. I've dedicated myself to working with couples. Do I still see sex addicts? Oh, absolutely. Do I still see partners exclusively? And if they aren't wanting to work on their relationship, or if they've already left their relationship, do I help them? Of course I do. Do you hear my trash man in the background? Ay, ay, ay. Supposed to have been here at 9 o'clock this morning. But, you know, it's not a third world problem, is it? No, now, you remember I was talking to you last week about wanting to make this podcast as accessible and available as possible, and what could I do to make it better. I'm still mulling over what that is, but I do really cherish the time that we get to talk together. Whether you're a guest, you know, I've had partners and addicts on talking about how they cope. I just had a man finish for me a video on how he has lived without sex for 6 years while his wife heals. I mean, there are so many people in our lives that are inspirational, that have a story. And that's what I love most, is what's the story behind the man, the woman, the couple, the program? You know, how do things get started? How do we use barriers and problems as opportunities to grow? That being said, I'm a big believer in changing internal locus of control. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the truth is that you've got these external locus of control. Those are the things that you can't necessarily change. You just have to figure out how to cope with. And then the internal locus of control. And those are things that you can change. You can absolutely, positively change the way you look at things. Because when you look at things differently, they actually change. And you have a lot of power to do that. I'm promising you that you can change your life by taking a look at how you think about life. Let me give you an example. As I look at coping statements, you know, philosophical coping statements that take your life to the next level, some of my favorites are the following. It's time to take care of you. Let go and let God. That's one. Don't have a healthy family? Create a family of choice. Don't do real well with shame? Spray yourself with Teflon and let go. Don't think you can do something? Act as if and fake it till you make it. Don't think you can wait the 18 months that it may take her to heal? Just look at it as one day at a time. These coping statements change your internal locus of control. So when somebody comes in and they say to me, you know, I can't do this. And I say, let's break it down into chunkable steps and let's look at an attitudinal change that will fortify your ability to do exactly what you need to do. You know, one of the things I love about CSATs is so many of them are in recovery. And so they've taken their addiction and they've done that 12th step and they decide they want to get healthy. So, of course, they practice good recovery for a long time. And then they go back and get their certification to help other men from a clinical standpoint. And I have worked with people who not only went back to get their CSAT, they had to go back to school to get their bachelor's and their master's. So I'm going to challenge you to think of those 5 statements that I made. It's time to take care of you, let go and let God. Don't have a healthy family, create a family of choice. Have a lot of shame, spray yourself with Teflon and let go. Don't think you can do it, fake it till you make it and act as if. And lastly, feel like you don't have that much time to get some of these things accomplished. Well, take it one day at a time. And email me at carolthecoach.com and let me know how that statement may have changed your internal locus of control and how you look at life. So I am so happy today to be talking with Michael. Now, he's going to have to share with me how do you say his last name, because it looks like Ciaccio. So let's talk with him right now. He's going to talk about this intensive and a place he really believes in, the Center for Healing. They do a lot of great work with attachment issues, trauma, and sexual brokenness. So, Michael, welcome to Sex Help with Carol the Coach. Are you there, Michael? Oh, there he is. Are you there?
I'm here. Yes. Sorry about that.
Did you have me on mute?
Yes, I think I did, or it said unmute or mute or something. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine. Hey, tell our listening audience, how do you say your last name?
Yes, so it's Ciaccio. So my parents pronounce it the way you said it, Ciaccio. My great-grandfather Americanized it when he came from Sicily in the early 1900s, but I brought it back to Ciaccio because I studied Italian and French, and so it just needs to be Ciaccio, you know?
Yeah, I like that, and I actually think that's easier to say. So, Michael Ciaccio, welcome to Sex Help with Carol the Coach.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I've heard a lot about you through SASH and through we've recommended a lot of our clients to Help Her Heal, and I just found out that one of my counselors is going to be doing your training in September, and so he's looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm helping professionals on 4-hour Help Them Heal book study, and then I'm also doing that early recovery couples empathy model. So that's in September, and I'm excited to be working with one of your colleagues because you've got an incredible staff at the Center for Healing.
We do.
Don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it's an all-star team.
An all-star team. Well, what's the story behind how that got started?
Yeah, sure. So, I went to finished at Avila University here in Kansas City and started my internship at Ozanam, Home for Boys and Girls, a residential facility for teenage kids. And they have a program there. It's really unique. I'm sure there's others in the nation, but it's called the Courage Program, and it's for teenage boys who have offending behaviors, who have maybe offended on, a cousin, or typically it's within the family with that type of behavior, or a younger sibling or something like that. And so I noticed that there wasn't a lot of assessment in regards to history of pornography or any exposure to pornography. It was hit on by the therapist there and halfway talked about. And so that's part of the story. And then I went to a meeting with some professionals one day, and I'm Catholic and was connecting with some of the Christians and the Catholics there. And one guy is the director of family life for the diocese here. I'm in Kansas City, St. Joseph, and he said, have you heard of the SAT-P? And so that's the Sexual Addiction Treatment Program at Mid-America, Nazarene. And I had never heard of it. And he said, well, we just did a study in the diocese, and the number one issue coming through the confessional and coming through priests and other folks in ministry is pornography. and wives are being betrayed. There's affairs going on. You know, this is just the number one issue, and we need somebody to set up shop who has strong values and is able to take on this clientele and start working with this population. And so I went through it in 2012, finished in 13, the SAT-P, and then opened up a small practice at the time while I was working at Ozanam. And then a side note, I got married at the time, and Carol, I had 5 kids within a year and 10 months. You want to know how that happened?
I would like to know how that happened. Yeah.
So I had step boys coming into the marriage, and they were twins. And then we had twins right off the bat, and then we had a single like 14 months after that. And so let's just say working at a residential facility wasn't quite cutting it. And so yeah.
Why, you had exhausted.
Yes, I was. Did you say I had to be exhausted?
Yeah, exhausted. And also I would think, having worked at a residential treatment center myself, you know, you don't make the greatest money there. You just don't. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, my supervisor had a great idea of me putting my shingle online, if you would. And so I put it on CatholicTherapist.com, and it just really exploded. So all these things kind of converging for me with Ozanam, and then with this director of family life and the diocese and the SAT-P, and so I set up shop actually in the chancery and just plugged into all these different ministries and even a bishop there and just really good people who just started referring to me over and over again. And I filled up within like 3 months. I had 20 clients a week and working mostly with sexual addiction and the betrayed partners as well. And then, in 2016, I do have a business mind. I was like, hey, all these referrals coming in, hey, I don't want to just refer them out. I want to build a team here. And so, Chris came on board 2016, and then 4 other therapists. And so, we have, so there's 6 of us all together and at the center right now. And it is just, it's rocking, I would say. Well, that's a great story. Now, you're an example of somebody who saw a need, and it just kind of synchronized that the need was identified at the same time that you saw it, and you've gotten a lot of training. What would you say is a typical phone call that you get when somebody's looking for services, especially if they're looking for that workshop that you're running?
Yeah, definitely. Well, a lot of times there's kind of 3 angles with that. One is the client who calls with just symptoms, just panic attacks, or I can't sleep, or depression, or I just got fired from my job, and so all these like surface, I don't know about surface level, there's just these symptoms going on. They can't quite figure out what's going on with that, and so we do. At the center, we have a 3-prong approach with looking at like attachment wounds, trauma, and sexual brokenness. And, it's kind of like moth to the flame with the Center for Healing. Like these clients come in, and once we start getting under the anxiety, under the sleep issues, under, dysfunctional relational patterns, those 3 prongs just really start to come out with our clients. And so that's the first wave of clients that call. And then, I've been really impressed with men in general. We do have a lot of guys, husbands and guys in their 20s who just make the call, and they're like, yeah, I'm going through sexual addiction. I'm suffering from sexual addiction, and I need help. I've had your card in my pocket for 2 years, and I gotta get help now. And so just really seeing the first step with them and just seeing they're powerless and they just can't manage it anymore, The third one I would say is the betrayed wife. She's calling and just really upset or kind of frantic or wondering if something's wrong with her, if this is all her fault, with her husband having had an affair, or maybe it's her fiance who she just caught looking at pornography, or whatever the betrayal trauma is going on there. And so there's a lot of triage to be done there to help her, especially if she spiritualized it, like, anger is a sin, or I gotta forgive her or forgive him right away. Just really speaking to that and letting her know she can be angry, letting her know about boundaries, and then getting her eventually into the office to start to do some good work with her. And then that's where the workshop comes into play too, saying, hey, this is a time where you can be assertive with your husband to work towards the marriage that you desire, the marriage that you want. And so, get in a healthy way, give him a little push to come to this workshop. And I tell you, probably 6 out of 10 clients who come on the workshop, it's from some good solid wives or partners giving the guys a push. So.
Well, yeah, and I see that in almost every example of intervention. It's the wife that calls, says my husband needs, or my husband needs a CSAT. And she's not necessarily thinking about herself. She's worried about him. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I say in the Help Them Heal book that is my end to say, hey, I want to see both of you together for that first session. Yep. Now, you don't have the luxury of doing that if you are compiling people for specific programming, do you?
Right. Yeah, we don't, but then I'll tell the wife we do have some great groups here in Kansas City, and referring her to some of those typically closed 12-week group to get her plugged in, and then also just tell her, hey, start some work with one of my therapists here at the center, and then to see them start to do their own work separately for a little while, then to come back together, along with having a couples therapist, can just be really good work for them.
Oh, I bet. Now, obviously, you speak about sexual brokenness, and you do that around a lot of different areas. I mean, you understand that oftentimes men have really disruptive, severe attachment issues because of their childhood. And will you tell me, when you helped to put together the My House workshop, was it because of their wounding as a child that led you to that very specialized intensive?
Yeah, definitely. That is a piece. That's let's see, where do I start with that one? Maybe the story with the My House workshop, how it came together, because Dr. Todd Bowman and I sat down at a start. Dr. Todd Bowman helps run it, and he's actually the curriculum creator behind it, and had been pretty close to Dr. Mark Laser, God rest his soul, who has passed away. And do you know some of I assume you know Laser, do you know some of these names I'm talking about, and Dr. Todd Bowman as well?
Yeah, they're very famous in the field, but let our listening audience know, how would they recognize both of those names?
Yeah. Through Dr. Mark Laser, it's Faithful and True Ministries in Minnesota. And Dr. Todd Bowman, he does clinical therapy, like he meets with clients one-on-one, and he does a lot of teaching and talks in the Kansas City area. And then he also runs the My House workshop as well. And so, back in 2016, he and I sat down. I wanted to do some teaching for the SAT-P, but he flipped his iPad towards me and said, actually, we need to put this into place. And he had the whole curriculum for the My House workshop. And September of 2016, we had our first cohort, and we had 7 men on it. And along with Father Sean Kilcawley, who is a PSAP. That's how you pronounce it, correct? PSAP?
Exactly.
Right, okay. And then Sam Meyer as well. They're all CSATs now, or PSATs, and I'm a SAT-P. And so, yeah, we fired it up, and we've been having we run about 3 to 4 every single year since 2017, I guess. And so it's been, can you go back to the original question with that?
Yeah. Well, I just wondered, how would people know Dr. Bowman and then also Mark Lacey? So that was my question.
Yeah. So, yeah, the workshop is definitely based off of the Faithful and True workshops that go on in Minnesota. And then ours is particularly Catholic Christian. I know the ones in Faithful and True in Minnesota are also Christian. And so, the workshop, it's everything from psychoeducation and some lectures to the integration of spirituality and the faith into recovery, and then a lot of experiential group work with, I don't want to give too much away, but on Thursday there's some group work. Friday all day is group work with a fun event that comes on Friday night for the guys, and then Saturday morning ours is pretty unique, where we do a half day on betrayal trauma and really help the husbands, partners, fiancés understand what their partner has been through, what this has caused in them, and to really help them start to take responsibility and to understand dynamics such as gaslighting or blaming or minimizing or their denial and the impact that has had on their partner. And so it's been that part of the day. It can be really difficult to face, but then we create a plan later in the day on, okay, how are you going to enter back into the real world? How are you going to approach this with your partner? How are you going to move forward with the tools? How are you going to get into group? And so there is a really practical piece to it that we integrate.
Absolutely. And so
yeah.
What I love, it sounds like you hit it from all perspectives. The fact that there's a big partner betrayal aspect to it. The need to know how they navigate that, not only what happened to her, but also what they can do to make her feel safe again. And I love that you put that in. Love that you have gestalt things so that they can actually physicalize what's happened to them, what they want in their life. I mean, it's not just sitting around talking. It's a very active workshop, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And, I remember a question you had asked earlier that, is there underlying trauma? And that was, that is the foundational piece of this. A lot of guys come in thinking like, well, you're basically going to tell us not to do this anymore and shame us and make us feel like crap. And then, then you'll send us on our way. But there's a lot of mercy that the guys come in and receive, and unpacking their story and working through and identifying. Sometimes it's the first time with them identifying traumas. And what we've been surprised by is the difference between, that actually what we've seen, I would love to do research with this. Dr. Bowman and I should be, I guess, taking more stats, if you would. But can you remind me, is it a classic sexual addiction, and then is it contemporary? Is more like the modern one? Right? Okay.
Right.
We've seen even with contemporaries, like guys in their 20s or maybe 30s, that they have very similar attachment wounds, trauma dynamics, neglect, their, family dysfunction. They're just, it's not, a lot of these guys coming in, it's not like, hey, I was 15, was given an iPod or an iPad or phone or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden I got addicted, but I still had an amazing family. Actually, no, we're seeing that it's just even escalated the issues more with giving a kid a phone at 10 and the family of origin issues are still there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. Now, let me ask you, you obviously said from Center of Healing and this workshop, you're really working with any sex addict, but you have a special bent for Catholicism and Christianity anyway. So tell us about the spiritual component in this intensive.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we've had guys from all walks of faith on it. Catholics, Christians, even some guys who aren't Christian who are just questioning, kind of agnostic, and wanting to look into, all right, what is spirituality and recovery, or how does religion fit into recovery? And so, with the words vulnerability and shame, those have been really powerful words the last 20 years maybe in the psychology field, and within the faith, that's something that's been talked, like that's part of like a prayer life. Is that the first step in AA work is, I'm powerless and I can't manage my life, and I need a higher power. I need God, something greater, someone greater than me to help me, to be there for me, to love me. And so a lot of guys will come in. It is fascinating when it first starts out and the guys are thinking, okay, there's a priest on this workshop. Like, I was catechized by, Saint Mary of the Disgruntled Heart of Jesus back when I was a kid. Some of the guys are 50s plus and were taught by nuns, and not to give nuns a bad rap. There are a lot of good nuns out there, but some of them get, we're really hard on them and said, hey, the more you sin, the more you keep hurting Jesus. So they're coming in expecting, the shame approach. But this story, I think really encapsulates what the My House Workshop is about. Father Sean saw a 12-year-old boy several years ago for spiritual direction, because he had been caught by his parents looking at pornography. Actually, he wasn't caught. Actually, this boy saw pornography and then went to his parents and talked to him about it. And so there had to be something good going on in the family system that he was so open to his parents about it. And so the dad went in for spiritual direction with the son, and the three of them are sitting in there. And Father asked him, hey, so how did you find pornography? And he said, I was on the bus and someone told me about it. I went home. I sought out Minecraft, and then there was Minecraft pornography, and then it got into videos, etc. And so then Father asked him, okay, that's all normal, pretty typical way of how young boys are finding it now, and then tells him or asks him, how did it make you feel? And the boy kind of squirmed then, but said, well, it kind of felt good, but also I felt bad, like I had to stop and I was sinning. And Father's, again, normalized it, like, okay, all normal, that makes sense. And then he asked him, what would Jesus do if he was there? And the boy's like, oh, Father, like, I can't think of that. Like, he'd probably wag his finger at me and just maybe walk out of the room, or he'd be angry at me. And then Father creates this great visual of, no, actually, he would just push your device away and he'd be angry at pornography. But then he would turn the boy towards himself and just give him a big hug and say, I'm sorry this happened to you. This shouldn't have happened to you. And I will always love you. And I will never abandon you. And just over and over again, just so he can, re-encounter this Father, this God, this higher power who's great in mercy and rich in love. And so that's the story that really encapsulates the workshop, where we allow guys to be where they're at in their spirituality, but also to see that, okay, God, like, this wasn't your fault when you go back. Now it's your responsibility to find recovery and to find healing and to take care of your partner and help her heal, right? But this wasn't your fault, and God wants to go to that place and restore you and love you right in there. And so that's I think just a powerful story with the integration with religion and spirituality.
Well, and I love that because there is so much shame, and that was a beautiful depiction of how that intervention reminds the men that are doing their work that, you know, they are so special regardless of what they've done in their past. And I can tell you have a real heart for helping men become whole again, because we know sex addiction does create brokenness. How can they get a hold of you? How can they get a hold of this program?
Yeah, sure. So centerforhealingkc.com is our website, and then there's a My House tab on there. And on that tab, you can get more information. You can give me a call. Actually, it goes through my admin, and so you could give her a call, and then you should be able to get through to me. She'll give me your number or whoever's number. And then also, email is admin@centerforhealingkc.com. And so that's our email to connect with me.
Yeah, and just to explain to our listening audience, it's Center for Healing KC, as in Kansas City.com, and the email to be able to talk with Michael is admin@centerforhealingkc.com. You know, you've been doing this work for how long, Michael?
It's been 9 years now.
Wow. So how old is your oldest? How old is your youngest?
So the oldest set of twins, my stepboys, they're 19. And then my twins are 11. The youngest is 5 now. Little Noah's 5 years old.
Wow. You've got a lot on your plate. And
I do.
Again, I see passion in your voice. You really want to help people. And I bet you are a phenomenal father, too.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. I do my best. I have to repair a lot. That word has saved my parenting. But I love my kids. We do a lot of things together. So, you know, my wife though at the dinner table sometimes is like, are we in a group therapy session, or why do we have to do highs and lows every night when we have dinner? And so sometimes I gotta tone it down. Can't do therapy with your family, right?
Well, I love that. And I'm telling you, you were so passionate when you reached out to our listserv to talk about what you were doing. And I said, I want to hear more about the program. I want my listening audience to know more about it, too. So as we begin to wrap up, what do you think makes this workshop different? Because you were first to admit there's a lot of good programming out there. What would make somebody say, this is the intensive for me?
Yeah, you know, I would say with this, it's the people on it. Well, two things. One is our team. Actually, what was fascinating at the end of one of the workshops, and we do an evaluation, one guy said the most powerful part was seeing the four of us, the 4 team members, interact. Because we have a brotherhood, and we live out recovery. We talk about our stories during the workshop, and there's just a lot of humor on the workshop. We do have a lot of fun, and the guys, just this particular guy wasn't expecting that. And so, with the opening talk with Father Sean Kilcawley and Dr. Bowman, psychoed, and I do a lot of the experiential work with the guys. It's just not like any other workshop. And then also the integrated spiritual part with how we bring in faith and try to unpack how that's been wounded as well over the years, and helping guys heal from that as well. And so you said whole. That word whole is definitely a passion of ours. So.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, thank you so much for sharing this approach. And I would encourage anybody, again, to go to Center for Healing KC, as in Kansas City.com, and look for that tab that Michael was talking about that identifies My House Workshop. And, Michael, just keep doing the good work you're doing. It's amazing.
Hey, yeah, I will. Thanks so much, Carol.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so, again, he's worked with some of the masters. There is no doubt about it. And this workshop has been going on for, over 8 years. So I'm sure they really know what they're doing. And, when you've got that kind of well-oiled machine, it becomes even more magical because you know what to expect, and yet every intensive is different. And it just kind of breeds a confidence about this work, and you could hear it in his voice. So I will see you next week for more Sex Help with Carol the Coach, when we get to hear from a partner who was not only betrayed by her husband, but by her church. So we'll talk more later. And as I say at the end of every show, there will be one of you, only one of you, at all times. Fearlessly have the courage to be yourself. Make it a great day, and we'll see you next week for more Sex Help with Carol the Coach.